Morning, everybody. How are you doing? Morning, everybody. How are you doing? Can I get an idea if you can hear me?
We can hear you.
Thank you very much. It's always helpful to know that you guys can hear me. Thanks for joining. It's like I said to a friend of mine yesterday, I'm not good with Mondays, but knowing that this is a 4-day week, I decided that, okay, let's start with Tuesday yesterday. So today is Wednesday, although on the calendar it says Tuesday, just for the sake of keeping me sane for this week. I know that everybody, I think, is sort of has subconsciously maybe set themselves Easter weekend as a sort of a target to get through midway through the semester, because it gives you a nice break, maybe to catch up on doing assignments, maybe just to sleep for a day, because I mean that's pretty much my intentions for the Easter weekend. With our first years on campus going through orientation this week, their classes will also resume after the Easter break. So yes, we've got our work cut out, which is quite nice, because obviously, like you were last year, you can remember you only a first year once, and there's a different kind of excitement when you're first year, and I can experience that vibe already in the first 2 days that they've been on campus. But I know for more senior students like yourself, second years, you've battled through COVID, you've survived COVID. We've all gone through massive changes, and we actually realized that we are more capable of changing than we actually believe we could. Because I know that most people don't take kindly to change. We hate actually change, and as a result of that, it just doesn't go down well. But welcome to the Centurion students, to the Belleville groups. I think where we left off on Thursday was that we've identified clearly that there's a definite shift in the role that females play, or women play in, as opposed to the traditional roles that they have played, where they were basically barefoot and pregnant and in the kitchen, and that's, as I said, so feministic and old school, and it has changed drastically because I think the 4 factors that we've identified were that there are more females in the world population than males. So obviously the rate at which the female population grows in relation to the total population is a factor. Secondly, the stereotypes have now changed, and they are now also very excited and interested in pursuing professional careers, educating themselves after school. And obviously, when the role of females changed, the role of men would change too. Traditionally, men weren't really at all involved, there was limited involvement. Maybe around Christmas when they did shopping, shopping for presents, and around their children's and their spouses' birthdays, shopping for presents. But men traditionally, you know what, not too excited about shopping, and it wasn't perceived by society as a role or a function that males actually do. However, the new men, as they call them, are definitely not like that, because, as I said, the women's roles are changing, and as a result of that, finding more females in a workplace, it means that with the equality of sexes, you'll find more males in shopping centers doing shopping for the households. And it is quite interesting that these roles have changed. And from a marketing point of view, it's very important that marketers realize that these roles have changed. And I think they have come to that conclusion that they need to have a more sort of generic approach and not a gender-specific approach when they draft their marketing strategies and advertising campaigns, um, that it's not just focused on females, but also um, on the male population too. Right. Um, let's see. I'm not too sure always about the efficiency of of, um, of these videos loading. So maybe we can have a glimpse. And the sound's probably not going to be fantastic, but at least you know that um, these or this particular video, or any video that we use, is also in your
Okay,
slides.
are you sure you guys are going to be okay?
For the 10th time, honey, we'll be fine. Just go.
Yes, let's go. Come on.
All right. The blitz. Rogers gets a hand to the face. The ball is out. Throws and touchdown.
What's going on in here?
Hi. This was easy.
Yes, definitely modern man is capable of more once he's given opportunity. But yes, that's just a tongue-in-cheek um, little video to show us that yes, marketers need to be aware of the fact that men have a different roles to fulfill now as well, and um, they should target them in that regard with their marketing campaigns and strategies. Three very identifiable new men or new age men is probably the metrosexual, usually lives in urban areas, has a very strong aesthetic sense, and spends a great deal of time and money on ensuring that his appearance is actually, let me just get Warren back on board, that his appearance and his lifestyle is very important to these individuals. Also very into fashion, make sure that they're wearing fashionable clothes, that they're actually in fashion, and that they are following the fashionable trends, as I said, they manicure themselves properly, Nothing wrong with that. It's just, yeah, why not? It's again like women shouldn't fulfill roles only in the household, and makeup and these kind of treatments that take care of the appearance is not limited to them, as it was traditionally sort of perceived. The metrosexual male will definitely um, be one that shifted those boundaries. You also have your retrosexual. He's very anti-metro, and actually um, puts a lot of, or it's not, it's probably somebody who is not, he's aware of everything, but he's not prepared to sort of make that step from the traditional role, or image, so to speak. They take care of themselves, but they're not overly concerned about their physical appearance. And then you have your ubersexuals. Ubersexuals, more sort of your masculine, refined, very confident individual, who's more in touch with his spiritual side and emotional side than his physical appearance, for that matter. Um, let's see if this video works as well. And this video is more a sort of an example of your more traditional sort of male, the rugged type.
Hey, nice dog. Yeah, this is Piper. You're a bred border collie. Watch this. Piper, fetch. Good boy, Piper. You're such a smart dog. So, what can your dog do? Fergus? Bud Light. Head dog. Fresh, smooth, real. Here.
Yes, you have those two. Interestingly enough, and I think this is extremely important for marketers to know and to pay attention to, is that the use of the internet, which has come with the 21st century, and obviously it's a very popular tool that's used by males and females. It's not just it was fast tracked as a result of COVID, but it's not because of COVID that people are shopping online. They're just shopping online more because they have more platforms to do it, and I think businesses have also opened up to the convenience factor initially, and then people realize that, you know what, it's actually not that um, um, it's not that dangerous. Just don't click on any say yes to any questions that you're not 100% sure of. Remember that saying that if it's too good to be true, it is actually too good to be true. So don't fall into that trap. Males and females definitely shop differently on the internet, and the females, I think, we can safely say, are the ones who are definitely shopping when it comes to the listed sites that we have there, One Day Only and Superbalist. They definitely shop more online and go through catalogs online, especially when they are buying clothing. They Traditionally, when they surf the internet, they would be looking to buy books, medical. They need medical information about conditions, maybe on a child or a friend. Um, they get cooking ideas, and they also um, are more interested in retail, and get Ruan on board as well. I'm more interested in getting the retail information on what's available. Where men, on the other hand, we probably go more sort of financial sites. Where's the best software deals available and stuff like that. I find myself shopping a lot online now since COVID, when it comes to retail. like on Pick and Pay and Checkers and the 60-minute delivery or sort of promise that they have. Where prior to that, it was probably mainly for fast foods, using Uber Foods and stuff like that, to Mr. D. So it has definitely changed. I think I have always seen myself more sort of as a I'm definitely not a traditional I don't see myself as a traditional male. Um, Maybe it's because for most of my life I've worked for myself, and as a result of that, I had flexible time, and therefore did spend a lot of time with the kids. And it's a more question of who was available at that point that did the shopping more than defining a role specifically as male and female roles to do household shopping. Um, what is the experience? What are you guys experiencing? How would you say in your households, your fathers, your mothers, how where would you categorize them? Which roles um, do they fulfill? Um, I can ask Cornelia in class as well. Let me get Franco back on board there as well. No problem. The question was in your households. Cornelia just asked me to repeat the question. Um, in your households where you grew up, um, has there been definitely clearly defined roles, males and females, what your mother and your father did? Um, I'm just interested because in my household, it's definitely, there's no defined roles. It will ever, well, I'm not going to teach my wife spinning class because I don't have the skill to do it. But when it comes to, I'm specifically referring to when it comes to shopping for your children, for the household, those kind of things. Right. Right. Sure. Split roles, yes. I think that's Gonai basically concluded that in their household there was a sort of split roles, although his father still very strong opinion about the male role as the caretaker of the household. Caretaker doesn't just mean go out and earn the money and then the rest of the family spends it, like it was in prehistoric times where um, the males were the hunters. That's all they did. They went out and they were away the whole day and they were hunting for food. So they weren't involved in the preparation of the food. And I think when I know in my household, and Konai confirmed that in their household, it's also the same, that they all have skills to actually to prepare meals. And I know in my household, for instance, because my wife's usually teaching a spinning class somewhere or more than one between 5 and 7, which is usually sort of your supper time for most households. And therefore, I can't expect her when she returns from a spinning class at 7:30 that actually she needs to run into the kitchen and prepare meal or prepare supper for us. So we've taken turns. Me and the two boys definitely, and we currently take turns. I know it's not my turn tonight. Tuesday evening is not my turn. So one of them would actually come up, and all I have to do basically is make sure that the ingredients are there. So yeah, I'm very much still involved in shopping, but for household shopping, the whole family does that on a Friday. That's what we do. I mean, so you actually select what you want, and if you are going to, if you're responsible for, if you're responsible on a Tuesday to prepare supper for the family, you decide what's on the menu, and you make sure that the ingredients that's necessary is included in the list that's the shopping is done for on a Friday, but as a family together. So yes, anybody else? I mean, how does things happen up in Centurion? How does the households look there? Is there very clearly defined roles, males and females? Who shops? Who cooks? Who does what? There's nothing happening in Centurion. Hey? People? Anybody? No contributions from anybody. That's so sad. I thought maybe I can actually, I can learn something from different cultures and different parts of the country, but apparently not. Yes, there's somebody who wants to maybe contribute. Yes, please share.
Yes, it's Ruan, sir. The big thing, like here in Namibia, like on farms,
Yeah,
it's still the big thing is like the farmer still goes out for the whole day, and then usually the wife looks after like the vegetables, the chickens, and like just the house, and like the farmer's away the whole day, and then comes
yeah.
back home, and then yeah. So that role is still the same as years ago. Nothing changes there.
I have to admit, yes. As I said, I'm very fond of Namibia and Namibians. Now I've spent more than 25 years and visiting there annually to recruit students, grade 12s, for studies at colleges in South Africa. So I'm pretty aware of the fact I was actually at a braai one evening with a friend in Windhoek who's Namibian. And while we were braaiing, they were already preparing the meat for the next day. Um, it was like that's your typical menu. So I can yes, I do understand it's very much still rural and the roles they are very. And I know if I was a farmer and I'm going to be doing hard labor somewhere on my farm the whole day. It's definitely it's the last thing that you would have energy for is when you get home is to be sent to the shop to go buy groceries and then even prepare the meal as well. So yeah, I can understand that to a certain extent. I know that the role of the females, however, is not just to sit at the farmhouse and wait the whole day and take care of what's happening around the main homestead, but they also get involved very much in the admin and the management and the financial side of the farm itself, because at the end of the day, it's not just planting things and herding cattle and stuff like that. It's still a business, and basic business principles need to apply. So I know they get more involved with that too. Yes, Cornay, there's a question here from Cornay.
Sir, I don't want to stereotype, but is it like a Namibian thing that women aren't really in the conversation? Because we have Namibian friends,
Yeah.
and every time like the man and the wife come to the wife isn't really like in the conversation a lot. It's like a thing that they do, because they once made a joke about it, but I just laughed because I wasn't sure. So is it like a thing that the women aren't really supposed to be in the conversation?
Let's hear from Ruan. Ruan, the question that Cornay has here, he just wants clarity. He's not taking taking the mickey out of it, and he doesn't want to put you on the spot. But it's just to um, he's been in a conversation of he's been in the presence of Namibians, and his question specifically is the role of the females there is very much to almost a sort of a backroom sort of when there's entertainment. I mean, they're not really part of the conversation. Or let's rather put it the way, all the females are in conversation with each other, basically. So
Something like they don't really come, they don't sit together, something like that. Yeah.
is that the case, Ruan? We're learning from each other now. Yes.
Yeah. So is he asking, sir, when cinema at a braai,
Yes.
all the men speak together and all the women speak together?
Yeah, they all sit together and separately, and they all chat. All the women chat to each other. There's no mixed group and mixed conversation. The males are separate to the females, and they have their own conversation separately.
It's like that, but at the same time, it's also not like that. So if like for the, how can I put it? So usually at braais,
Yes.
the men mostly sit together and just speak to each other.
Right.
And the women speak to each other. I don't know why. It's a very weird thing that happens in Namibia. But like, yeah, in other cases, when you go to a braai, everyone speaks to each other. But most of the time, the men are in a small little group speaking to each other, and the women sit and they speak to each other. I don't know why it happens, but it is a thing.
I think it's probably it is still very evident, yes, in Namibia, but it's not isolated to Namibia. I do believe in in my circle of friends, the families that we have as friends. There's also at some functions, I know, for instance, the males and the females sit separately, and they're not engaging in a mixed conversation. They all have their own. But I've also have friends where yeah, everybody's part of the conversation. I think it's the host basically that creates that environment to either support a sort of a mixed group and conversation as opposed to separate groups. I definitely know that when I have friends over, the men don't rush to the bride room or outside to where the bride is, and the females stay inside, and we have separate conversations. It's a question here from Warren.
So lately now, my dad's constant about
Yes.
when we grew up in a household where they were traditionally mentioned that my dad would be cooking, my mom would work outside, my mom and dad would work together in the kitchen together outside. And there wasn't any like when friends, family friends, that we
Yes.
all like the kids, my mom and dad, everyone would sit in the lounge and just like everything together. There wasn't like any division at all.
That's true. Warren was saying as well, and he grew up in a household where there was absolutely no separation in roles. Everybody was involved in all conversations, all decisions, and all chatting together. And I think especially traditionally when I grew up still and I'm a baby boomer, so I mean I'm sort of mid-60s. Um, it was children were not allowed at all. I mean, children, there was still that approach of children are to be seen and not heard. So you're not part of the conversation. Where I quite enjoy, especially, you know what? I'm not going to have if a 4-year-old wants to play with his toys or whatever. I mean, there's no pressure on him being forced into a conversation because he's not going to be interested in what the topics are anyway. But I'm talking about if you're of a school-going age and I'm sort of late primary school and going into your teens. I think it's very valuable. I think from a parent's point of view, it's important to get to have those individuals, their children and other people that they're hosting children involved in conversations because we all learn from each other. We have different opinions and we, yeah, I quite enjoy that. Having a lot of different ages and different generations, so to speak, and that would be the next characteristic that we'll be looking at later this morning. Age specifically as one of the factors, most important factors that needs to be considered by marketers when they design marketing campaigns to target specific groups. Okay, I'm going to get to that right now. Kunai is another question. Yes, contribution.
I've seen now because the kids are in the concept, they are more like restaurants opening now on the partner area, like wine farms they build specific areas like
Yes.
next to the drinking area.
Yeah.
And then there's one farm I visited with one of my friends who's like his one son is 5 and he's 3 years old. And I made it feel safe because we could see them playing. And while we were like drinking wine, I made them safe in the very connected way because they were like
Yes. Can I touch on something that I think that has become very evident in the last 2 decades specifically? I would say the last 15 years more specifically, that your restaurants and all um, your wine farms and all these places that entertain people and that serve food, as much as they were required by law to create areas for smokers, they also very cleverly included play areas for children, which makes it more sort of family friendly. And I know that when my kids were still very young, I'm talking specifically under the age of 10, when we booked restaurants to go out, that was one of the requirements. There must be an entertainment area for the children because they then, as a matter of fact, then they're away to play because they want to play and they want to eat. I mean, they want to be in adult conversation at that age. But it then also allows the fact for the adults to engage in the conversation, maybe have some adult time while the kids are away to play, but you also can keep your one eye on them because they're not too far away, and it's actually a win for the whole family. And businesses who This is you have not engaged in that. I think you probably took a knock. Well, let's do something tongue in cheek. Read what's on the screen there. I'm going to read it for the sake of the students in Belleville because um, I don't see it. It goes as follows: the truth of life. It takes 7 seconds for food to pass from your mouth to your stomach. A human hair holds 3 kilograms. The length of the penis is 3 times the length of the thumb. The femur is as hard as concrete. A woman's heart beats faster than a man's. Women blink twice as much as men. We use 300 muscles just to keep our balance when we stand. The woman reading this, the woman has read this entire text. The men are still looking at their thumbs. Okay. Isn't that just the interesting tongue-in-cheek truth of life sort of observation? Right. Another market that is I think sort of developed by itself is that of the gay and lesbian market. And why would you say? I mean, isn't that sort of discriminatory if you are segmenting them specifically? No, it's not. From a business point of view, from a marketer's point of view, it makes sense because gays, or let me rather call it same-sex relationship, is most commonly have a double income. They don't have kids. They maybe have made decisions later on to sort of adopt children or get surrogate involvement to have a child. But the fact is, they have double the income. Well, we had the conversation as colleagues in the staff room a couple of days ago, no, just before the weekend. Because the one colleague of mine has been married for a number of years, and the conversation came up: if you are you considering, or when you start a family? Because those are the kind of things questions that's traditionally asked, and not expected. Because I mean, I've got very good friends who married for more than 20 years, and they consciously made a decision when they got married. They don't want children. They love children. They, as a matter of fact, are very involved in a lot of charities, and they love their brothers and sisters' kids, but they don't want their own children, and you respect that opinion. Now, as a matter of fact, I think we concluded that on average, if you just take school fees, and nothing else, and that's only from the age of 6 up to 18 for those 12 years. If you're looking at 30K a year, just on school fees for 12 years, that's almost 400,000 rand. That's if the school fees stay the same and there's no increase. Add on top of that your children's when they are still toddlers, from birth to primary school, clothes, nappies, food, and that continues through their teen years. And you add your expenses towards medicals and stuff like that. It adds up. And I think I read an article where it was, and I'm going to try and get it for you by Thursday. I just need to find where I've saved it. It's in excess of R1 million, the cost of a child from birth to 18 years old.
Actually, now, it can go up to 2.5 million if you count only.
Yes, Gonasia said recent studies have showed it's closer to 2.5 million, and I can understand that because I mean your studies is going to be 60, 70, 80,000 rand a year. Yeah, and usually because your children are on your medical, so you're paying more. Your parents are paying more for a medical because the children are on the medical, but on their medical, and insurers have modified the formulas that they use to calculate your premiums up to the age of 25. Usually it was up to the age of 18 because that was when kids go out the house or whatever. Now they include whatever happens when they study, and then you have your boomerang children as well who actually just never leave home. And again, that's a conversation in itself. But if we come back to specifically same-sex relationships, commonly known as gay and lesbian relationships, then you definitely, it is a market in itself. And marketers need to understand that there's nothing wrong in them. Firstly, we discussed how your race, it's why it's not racist if you are targeting specific markets, colored markets or black markets or Indian markets for specific products. Similarly with same-sex relationships and the markets and their needs, their specific needs. There's nothing wrong with it. It's actually you miss out if you actually forget about this market or you're not specifically target that market. Yes, Connor, you had a question or contribution? No. Okay. Then we come to the last part of this chapter, and it deals specifically with age as one of the variables that marketers should pay very careful attention to, because age itself is one of the variables that influence the behavior of consumers the most. We have to, however, be very clear on what we see as age. And there are different definitions of age. Firstly, we have chronological age. Now, chronological age is the length of time that is that is passed since the day you were born until the current state. In other words, I'm 56 years old, and I will be a year older in June this year. That's my chronological age. My biological age can be higher or lower than that chronological number because of my lifestyle or my diet and my health condition. A month ago, when I was still just out of hospital after a knee operation, I just definitely felt 10 years older than I feel today. And lifestyle and your diet specifically does affect your biological age. And I think if you look at your physiological age, or your psychological age, where it refers to in your mind, are you some people refer to it as and I know that teenagers refer to it as those kids are very hip parents. They're very with it. They're very on top of the modern trends and things, and that refers to your psychological age, specifically where your perceptions are you very much on top of the modern trends, and your perceptions are very adaptable to make sure that you stay on top of things. So the type of age is definitely going to impact on the marketing decisions that we take. I know, for instance, that a friend of mine is 77 years old. He's still cycling. I think last year was COVID. 2019, he was actually 75 then, obviously. He came, I think he came second in his age group in the Cape Town cycle tour. Now, not too many 77-year-olds who's going to cycle 109 kilometers on a Sunday morning up and over Chappies and that rolling hill. So it's again somebody that I could say maybe on some levels his physiological age is definitely his chronological age. His beliefs and his perceptions are very much that of a 77-year-old, but then on the other hand, his biological age is way less. And he's definitely going to, he finished in a time that came in second in his age group in